Jared Bedke is here to talk about the ongoing John Deere controversy. The latest headlines you're going to see: John Deere could face wrongful termination over layoffs. And that is because wrongful termination lawsuits over layoffs. And that's because they're alleging that with the people that have gotten axed from John Deere recently, they're targeting older, more expensive employees, essentially. They're not saying more expensive. Well, yeah, I guess they are here, higher paid. So targeting older workers, which is obviously a trend around the country. There are a lot of older people that cost a lot of money in TV newsrooms that are getting axed ever since really the early, I don't know, post recession, 2008. It was just more and more people getting axed, and then the few people left behind doing more and more work. What do you think about potential lawsuits for John Deere?
I think they're a non-starter.
Why
Unless
is
you can
that?
show a discriminatory class, I don't see it going anywhere. Uh, well, you took TV news, for example. I had a friend whose uncle worked at the Tonight Show for years and years and years, and he was 2 weeks away from retirement when they would have had to have paid him his retirement, and they did away with his position and let him go at 70 whatever years old. And because they did away with his position, he wasn't entitled to his retirement, and he died a couple of years ago. And it's unfortunate, but it's pretty standard. If they're looking at the bottom line and they're saying we can cut these older guys and this, but they won't say they're firing them for that purpose. It's not like how you got fired. Oh, we don't like what you're saying.
Well, that was,
It is.
yeah, that
It's
wasn't TV,
it's
but yeah, that
yeah.
was the government, which makes it even worse.
Right. But John
So,
Deere is not going to open themselves up to that liability simply because they're going to say, well, downturns, we got to cut somebody.
mhm.
And you guys are the ones to go. We're cutting everybody off this line, in essence.
Going
And
back to this
so,
article from
mhm.
KCRG, they have an attorney quoted, and part of me kind of wonders, are they just making this up because they're saying, well, there's no lawsuit yet. Attorney Megan Benani is confident Deere and Company discriminated in its layoffs, targeting older, higher paid workers. Um, and they're investigating after one laid off Deere worker reached out. And when we were in TV news, I mean, we'd get like attorneys who just wanted to drum up attention. They'd reach out and say, hey, we might be looking into this. And then you get the article. And maybe, hey, then maybe you get what you want out of just the media coverage. You don't have to ever file a lawsuit or something. So, I mean, it's hard to know what the reality is. But when Benani, this attorney, talks about the severance package, she calls it cover for John Deere to make bold and discriminatory decisions because most people will accept it out of fear, and that it's a growing trend in American companies called de-risking. Companies will try to better their stock price by offloading their future obligations in pensions, retiree healthcare, and other benefits. Wait, is she talking about the military, the Marine Corps? Oh no, sorry, I was having flashbacks to my life with my husband. Anyway, other benefits factored into their stock price. In offloading their future responsibilities, what they're doing is breaking a promise that they made to their employees. This is illegal and is also despicable. I know you're not an attorney, and I don't even know if you're a fan of John Deere one way or the other, but I would think you'd see a lot more of these lawsuits if this de-risking practice was in fact something that people could sue and win over, like, because we're just seeing so much of this around the country. I just don't know if that's going to be a reality.
Well, full disclosure, I own two pieces of John Deere equipment, a lawnmower and a backhoe from 1970, whenever. So neither one of them were. I'm not in their target demo. We'll put it
Mhm.
that way.
If you are somebody who's been considering moving your IRA or your 401k into precious metals, it's a great way to support the show. You can text Alison to 989898 and get some information from Birch Gold. They've been in the business over 2 decades, help thousands and thousands of people decide whether this is right for them. You're considering diversifying and you don't just want to diversify into chickens who only lay one egg every 4 days, like our chickens, which is apparently that is now the case. And we got one 4 days ago, and then Lynn found one yesterday. So, hey, we have 2 eggs. And anyway, no pun intended, if you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket, you can go to Birch Gold and get information about this. You will learn how you can move physical gold and silver into a tax-sheltered retirement account, diversify your old IRA or 401k for no money out of pocket, one thing you can do to secure your family savings, text Alison to 989898. You'll get a free no obligation info kit. Go send me some mail, P.O. Box 3355, Denellen, Florida 34432. You can help with my psychological margin by just sending me notes of encouragement, or my monetary margin by sending me a donation for the show. Got this very nice card here, a bowhead whale from Joe. Thank you, Alison, for all the great information. You really are a bright light in a world of darkness. Wishing the best for you and your family. Keep up the good work. And I just love those cards. The producers get to open them on the way home. So it's a lot of fun. P.O. Box 3355, Denellen, Florida 34432. And you can join Locals, AlisonMara.locals.com. $5 a month to put in questions ahead of time for interviews. All right, let's go to this article about John Deere. This is from January 2023. The BBC of all places, covering U.S. farmers win right to repair John Deere equipment.
Because they finally got it to a jury. And the jury said, look, guys, if I remember the story right, man, this is a while back. There was a judge or there was a jury. I can't remember which one it was, but the judge says, look, if you're going to hold them to this, you got to show up when they call. They said, well, we can't get there. Then he says, you got to allow them to repair their stuff. What's their option? Okay. But that bred a lot of ill will into the big ag production industry. And now that margins are way down on farm products, like you say, people just can't buy new ones. And if nobody can buy new ones, they don't need to make them.
Well, and there's also, as they have this quote here, consumers have long been complaining products not only tend to break down faster than they used to, but that repairing them is often too costly, difficult to arrange for lack of spare parts, and sometimes impossible. But yeah, the first part, that it feels like you're even at the mercy more often simply because things just don't last as long anyway. So you're really, really stuck if you have to go to a particular office location to have something fixed when it's breaking down. Hey, if it was like once in the lifetime of your gear, maybe that wouldn't be such a big deal. But over time, it just seems like stuff's not lasting the way it used to. You know, I'm still using a laptop that my mom bought me in 2011, which is finally it's not allowing me to use Photoshop anymore, and I can't do the update on it to get Photoshop. So I have to buy a new laptop. But it's like 13 years old. But I kind of wonder if the stuff made in the last couple of years would have lasted as long as my 2011 laptops. Even then, things are breaking down. We're already starting. Like, I didn't ever even want a smartphone. The only reason I got a smartphone was because I'm a real cheapo. I went to Verizon to get a phone, and they made the flip phones twice as expensive as a smartphone. And I was like, well, this doesn't make any financial sense. So now I have a smartphone, I guess, even though I don't really want one, because they priced me out of my flip phone market. And and then they just, I don't know. It just seems as a consumer. But let me go back to this.
I'll tell you what the industry calls that.
What?
There's actually a technical term for that across all industries, and it's called planned obsolescence. And so if you'll notice, a car transmission comes with a 30,000 mile warranty. You know, what they've found is through their testing, that transmission will probably last 32,000 miles. And so they're getting under that. And then it costs more to buy a new transmission than it does to replace, than it does to replace the car. So they're selling new vehicles. They don't want anything old running anymore. They want you to always buy new. And it's just planned obsolescence.
Yeah, when you were talking about the computer codes, somebody on Locals, or actually no, Rumble, the computer code shuts your tractor down. And then, like our air conditioning, for instance, we have mini splits, and it's like having a bunch of computers in your house. So when our AC went out on Monday, which, like, by God's grace, it just started working on its own because the repair guy said we're not going to get the control panel until next week. And I was like, I'm going to lose it. A week in Florida heat with no AC. But God
like
just turned it on.
You
so
like the
we're
heat.
not asking questions. What?
You like the heat. That's why you moved back to Florida.
Yeah, I like the heat outside. Like the heat outside. I'm a real Floridian. That means when we go inside, we like it ice cold. We're not like Seattle, where people just sweat it out for a month or two in the summer and think that that's normal. No, Floridians take their AC very seriously. But anyway, it's like, it's not an HVAC system. It's not just a big hunk of machinery. It's a very fragile and finicky set of electronics. And Yeah, or trucks, same thing. It's like you got all these stupid codes that have to be addressed. And like, how do we know how to fix it? And it really does. Look, the companies may say that it has nothing to do with a globalist effort to keep you from being able to manage your stuff and always need them. But it really does kind of seem like that's where we're headed.
The other thing I could tell you to be careful about your new pickups and your new vehicles is they've all got a kill switch on them now too, remote detonation basically. So when they want to shut you off, it shuts you off.
Wow. Well, I thought all I had to worry about was getting demonetized. Thanks, Jared.
No, you got your OnStar on yours, and
That's
OnStar.
true.
You could call OnStar up and say my pickup's been stolen, and they'll shut it off
Right.
and tell you where it's
Oh,
at.
okay. You didn't mean like a detonate, like the
No,
CIA.
not
Like, we're going
explosion.
to take out Alison. All right. That's what
No,
I.
no. Well, I don't think so.
I hope not. On that note, who needs a drink? AlisonWinePromo.com is always there for your palate needs when it comes to wine. If you're a wine drinker, where are you? Join the club. You get 6 bottles every 3 months. These are wines you can't get anywhere else. Why would you want to? They all come with a fantastic story. Like, let me show you some of the pictures. Here's like some families with the Bonner guys talking about where they're harvesting. These are very high altitude in the most, like 6,000 to 9,000 feet in a lot of cases. They're very remote regions, hand-picked grapes. Why join the club? So you can read all about it. Diverse selection, cultural immersion. Like, this is not just going to the grocery store and like, $2 chuck. Now, I understand not all of us can afford this. If you're not somebody who can, no harm, no foul. But if you are somebody who is already really into this, this is the wine experience you are looking for. They were selected for my palate, which is clean products, stuff you can't get anywhere else, whatever has a story to it, I guess, that makes you feel like you're supporting something that is aligned with your values. I like small family businesses, I like to support farmers who have growing practices that are aligned with the kind of food I like to eat. And I like to know where it comes from. And all of this stuff has a very traceable, unique lineage, I guess, back to where it came from. And you'll get to hear all about it. So join the wine club. You'll never be empty handed for your cocktail parties, for birthdays, for whatever gift you need. You'll just have it on hand. You can wrap it up. Tell people it supports free speech too, because it keeps my show going. AlisonWinePromo.com. Going back to the right to repair one quick time. Really, like, the big question I think is, do you think this was the beginning of the end for John Deere? Like, did it play a significant role in getting us to the point where now we're reading about layoffs and John Deere saying it's having financial issues, even though like the union, the United Auto Workers, says John Deere's just making that up, that they've made massive profit. They just want to keep making massive profit. This really has nothing to do with money at all. Or if it does, it's just because they're greedy and they want to just keep their profits coming in. Did right to repair play any part in this? They're not talking a whole lot about it. I'm just curious what you think. Is it just kind of, I don't know, a side item, or did it play a significant role?
Boy, I don't know. You can't discount the ill will that it created, because somebody might have been like, screw it, I'm never buying John Deere again. I got a brand new, I spent $750,000 on this thing, and the guy won't even come out and flip the switch to make it work, and I shouldn't have to have somebody flip a switch to make it work, right? So he switched to something else, or they're looking for old stuff. I'll tell you, I told you about the tractor that I bought. Boy, when those come up at auction, they go for a lot of money now, because nobody wants a new one. They want these old ones that were all mechanical, that they can fix, so they can roll through. They're kind of in high demand. But the flip side of that coin is they do break down. So new ones tend not to break down as often if you can keep them running. And they tell me they've got most of the kinks worked out of the DEF systems. But if you're still waiting for somebody to come out and hook their laptop up to it to fix it, boy, that's a tough call on that. And I think people are just like, yeah, they've either reached they've either reached the point of demand destruction because of their price, or they've just fed enough people up with a right to repair type situation that the ill will, that nobody roots for green or nobody roots for red anymore. It's just, who cares? If everybody in the NFL is taking a knee and you don't like that, you're not going to watch the NFL.
In the BBC article, they say that the agreement that was, they're calling the right to repair success, I guess. Okay, farmers are going to be, or people who own these John Deere pieces of equipment have more power now to repair their items or go somewhere that's not a John Deere facility. It says equipment owners and independent technicians will not be allowed to, quote, divulge trade secrets or, quote, override safety features or emissions controls or to adjust agricultural equipment power levels. Okay, that's a lot of things they're not allowed to do. So what was
Well, what else is there? What else is there?
Right. What was the win? Can you explain to me, like, what did they win?
I don't know. Give me just one quick second.
Okay, no problem. I have no idea what the answer to this question is, so I'm just going to talk about how I don't know. But it says the firm looks forward to working.
I never get a phone call. I never get phone calls. You must be my jinx. Anyway.
Okay. Farmers are part of a grassroots right to repair movement that's been putting pressure on manufacturers to allow customers and independent repair shops fix their devices. Yeah, but what exactly did they win? It just seems like there's a lot of stuff that they're still not allowed to do. What did John Deere give up?
I don't know. Sounds to me like, okay, you've heard of the term deleted. To delete something means you take off all the death and the emission stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The government cracks down on that hard now. The EPA is coming after people. They're stopping them at checkpoints, and if it's not for racing purposes, then they're busting you, and it's supposedly a big fine. If the DEF system on a John Deere is what's causing you the problem, but you can't override the emissions control, I'm not sure what the right to repair even does, because you could put a sprocket on and off even without that. But
yeah,
I just don't know. There's so many sensors on these things anymore. It's amazing. And I guess if you can find which sensor is down by having your right to repair, and you can replace it yourself, you don't need the tech to drive out there. Yeah.
Who's Ed? As a humorous aside, we can go back to the steam engine tractors. That would ensure we are better positioned to repair old equipment. There are 100-year-old tractors that still run.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you might have one of those, Jared, somewhere. Seem like
no, my oldest one's only from the 50s.
Oh. Well, any final thoughts before we go?
I will leave you with this. I hate to promote some small YouTube channel on your show, but I was listening to Victor Davis Hanson.
Go somewhere else.
Victor Davis Hanson being interviewed by Mike Rowe here just before we came on, and it's so much involved in what we're talking about here today, where he's talking about the elites want to dictate, and they look down on the poor people in the middle because they're just a lesser class. They're just a lesser quality of people. They're just, I need to tell you what to do because you're not smart enough to know how to do it yourself. That's where all this stems from. Well, we've got intellectual property in this. You can't divulge trade secrets. What trade secrets? Just make an outfit that works.
Is it though, Jared, or is it just really comes down to control and finances? But
who's controlling?
If they believe that people were so dumb, they wouldn't care about allowing the freedom to do what you want because they would think you're too stupid to figure it out. The reality is they probably actually think people are quite smart, and that's why they have the restrictions that they do, because they want to be able to control your behavior. Not
why is a tier 3?
They wouldn't have to.
Why was a tier 3 diesel engine bad?
I don't even know what that. I don't know.
Which is what I told you, because it blows black smoke.
Oh, right. Yes, that's right.
But we don't want to see black smoke. We don't like to smell that stuff. So we're going to tell you what to do. Yeah, but I don't care. I'm using this to produce. Don't you understand? Well, yeah, but my food comes from the store. My food doesn't come from people.